So this video I'm going to show you how to use the value of a color, which is the tint, tone, and shade, to create the illusion of a three-dimensional sphere. So first of all, I'm taking my color by itself, the hue, and I'm very lightly just coloring over the entire sphere, the entire circle, just to kind of show the color of the circle itself. And as you can kind of see, you can change the value of the one single color based on your pressure, as well as the amount of layers of that color that you put onto your paper. So you can see I'm kind of just working through to show where the light source is hitting my sphere, where I want my highlights to be, where I want my middle shades to be, and where I want my dark shades to be. And I'm doing this all based on the pressure of my coloring, as well as the layering of my coloring. So I'm not adding any of the tints, tones, and shades, the whites, the grays, or the blacks just yet. I'm first going to kind of get the overall shading that I want for my sphere first, with only the pressure, with only the hue, only the color, before I start adding in the tint, tones, and shades. So as you can see, there's a lot of this coloring shading that I'm doing with just the color by itself, and it sort of looks three-dimensional. We can see the highlights and the lowlights, but we can't physically see how three-dimensional that this sphere is. So in order to make it look more three-dimensional, we're going to add our tint, tones, and our shades. So the first one is our tint, which is white, and you'll see you can't really see a difference when I'm adding the white on top of it. Really all it does is kind of blend my strokes for my color. Then I'm going to add in my tone, which is the gray. And it's hard to tell, but I'm super lightly shading or coloring that gray over the blue area that I want for my sphere. So I'm lightly, very lightly coloring over with gray where I want those mid-tones to be, where I want those gray colors to be. And you can see I colored outside of my sphere line, so you can see the pressure, super light pressure. Same thing with the black now. Now I'm adding in my shading, and you can see how lightly I am coloring, how lightly I am pressing with this black crayon, so that way the black crayon doesn't overpower the blue color crayon that I've already colored. So again, very lightly shading over the blue, where I want this black to show up, where I want that darkness of my sphere to be, and I'm just layering and layering and layering and layering, lightly pressure, coloring over with the black so that it mixes with the blue. And as you can see, it's starting to look more gray than actual blue, and that's okay, because you can always, again, layer your colors. So you can take your blue color back, you can go back over with your blue color. I decided to go over the whole entire sphere itself, and as you can see, I start to lose some of those highlights. I lose that super light area, and what you can do with that when that happens is just go back over and add a little bit more darkness, and that's what I decided to do here. And so I get the black crayon again, and I just kind of start adding in a little bit more darkness. In fact, I added a little bit more pressure to my crayon as I was coloring, but I'm not adding as much darkness on the circle as I did the first time with the black. And so you can kind of see it starts to take its form. Those little extra black sections around the edges really help.